Hey, EO Alive, thank you for being with us tonight. And it is a pleasure to be here with you and to give you kind of an update. I have the coordinators of B2H, Stop B2H, excuse me, with me. And I just want to introduce you to Jim Kreider and Irene Gilbert. And they have kind of been, without a doubt, frontline people in making this fight happen. And thanks so much, guys, for jumping on with me. And before we get too far down the road, just want to remind our Facebook viewers that you have an opportunity to put questions and comments in the Facebook feed, and we will do our best to funnel those questions to these folks. So thanks a lot, guys. And so, Jim, why don't for those people that have been under a rock or moved here and do not know what B2H is, why don't you give us a quick overview on what this is about, what is B2H, and kind of how you guys got started, and then, kind of bring us up to date to where we are now.
Okay, great. Thanks for having us on. B2H is the Boardman to Hemingway transmission line that was proposed by Idaho Power starting back in 2007. And the world was a little bit different then. The Stop B2H coalition came into being around 2015. And right now we're about 500 members. We have 7 coalitions that are a part of us. So together we represent a couple of thousand individuals. And our goal is to stop a 300-mile, 500 kilovolt transmission line that goes across 5 Eastern Oregon counties. Basically, we're going to have new neighbors in the neighborhood that will be 180 feet tall, that will snap, crackle, and pop because of the electromagnetic radiation that they release. And really, it brings no benefit to Eastern Oregon. All of the energy will go to Idaho. There's no off-ramps. And the environmental and economic consequences to our land and our traditions will be forever changed. And we really don't think that Idaho Power needs this transmission line. And that's why we're here, and we have a 4-pronged approach that we're trying to approach to get our point across to the decision makers. Because first we have the Bureau of Land Management, and they did an environmental impact statement. And we are litigating with them now in court. We have our opening arguments in September. And basically, we asked the BLM for a supplemental environmental impact statement, which they refused to do. They didn't answer our letter. And we had 2 years in which to litigate. So therefore, we had to go into litigation. And basically, the BLM missed some very key points in their environmental assessment, such as the fault lines in LeGrand, the unstable soil. They did not do a noise study. And as I mentioned earlier, the snap, crackle, and pop, all the homes, there are 357 homes that will be less than a half a mile of this line. And they will hear that. And Idaho Power has asked for a blanket noise exemption. So they're saying to the state of Oregon, and the feds, we don't want to have to be responsible for complying with this rule. So those are some of the things we're looking at in the courts. Then we have the public utility commissions of both Idaho and Oregon, and their Stop B2H has filed as an intervener. And in this particular planning cycle for Idaho Power, they have asked for 3 pauses in the docket so far, because it's a quasi-legal docket in front of the public utility commissions. And they've asked for these pauses because interveners like Stop, Idaho Conservation League, Sierra Club have asked very tough questions of Idaho Power. And as we dig into it, we find they've made mistakes, or they've created certain sets of data that don't play themselves out. So as we question them, they go, time out. We've got to take a little bit to restudy all of this. So we're very involved with the PUCs. And what happened recently is the Bonneville Power Administration, a 24% partner, said, whoa, we want to renegotiate this ownership agreement because we're not necessarily thinking we're getting the best value for our buck. So that's what caused this most recent pause, in addition to Idaho Power identifying 4 key errors that they made. So the BPA is not really sure what they're going to do at this time. I got an email from one of their PR folks this morning, and they basically say that they don't know what the utility is going to do. They are at the table trying to figure out, how are we going to get through this? Are we going to partner with them? Or as Idaho Power has proposed, they pay a surcharge to transmit their energy from the Columbia River to their Southeast Idaho customers, because they have a legal obligation to serve them. And building this transmission line with Idaho Power and PacifiCorp would give them a cheaper route, they think, to get the energy there. In addition, PacifiCorp, who's a 54% partner, they do not have the Boardman to Hemingway transmission line in their short-term plan, which is 5 years. They had it in there in 2017. In 2019, they took it out. So therefore, Idaho Power wants to build the line starting in 2023. PacifiCorp's 5-year plan does not have it in there. So BPA is not sure they want to do it. PacifiCorp is not sure they want to do it. But Idaho Power is plugging along with the hopes of a Hail Mary pass that cash is going to come raining down on them. So we're not sure what's happening within the Public Utility Commission arena. Then our third prong is the Energy Facility Siting Council, which, Irene's going to talk about, because that's kind of that's the important part we're at now. But I just want to mention the fourth prong is you, the people. You're the ones that bring this together and make it happen. A well-informed public can push up against the bureaucratic systems, and sometimes, and we hope this is that sometime, we can make a case and make a difference. We're here to protect our land and preserve our heritage. Idaho Power wants to put a 300-mile transmission line in and ruin that for us. So that's pretty much our four-pronged approach. But like, as we mentioned earlier, today we're talking about the Energy Facility Siting Council primarily because we're in a contested case process now.
Thank you. There was a lot of information there, Jim. So, but to kind of sum that up for those people that might not be familiar, our local impact is that if they went on the proposed course where it was going to go, we literally would be able to see the power line along the side of the mountain from La Grande, which is one of the few cities along the whole 300-mile route where we would be able to see the line, the power line. And so that kind of rallied folks. And then as you guys looked for a way to interrupt the process, then you looked at the research that had been done to choose the route for the power line, and you found errors in that, things that they had not considered. And then that has given Stop B2H and the public an opportunity to speak to those concerns of that research that has not been done correctly. Did I miss anything?
No, you got it right.
Okay. So
it will rim the valley. Okay. So as you come in from the freeway from the west, you will see that transmission line along the east hills, the south hills, and then it will go out of town along like above Foothill Road.
Okay.
So yeah, it's going to be visible from everywhere.
Yeah, and I don't know when we did the public hearing. It's probably been over a year ago, and so I did quite a bit of. I was really involved in that. I think we broadcast that live and so on and so forth. And I've spent some time interviewing Idaho Power and those folks. But essentially, they're willing to do things to mitigate the impact, like shorten the towers in particular places. But they're not. Nobody's really willing to change the route. And on top of all that, they still haven't really proven that it's necessary. And also it comes through our area. It impacts the visual line, the beauty of the area. And at the end of the day, it has no impact on us locally other than it might provide some jobs while it's being built. But the long-term impact of that for us locally in a positive way is not there. Do I kind of sum up things?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. So now tell us where we are now. Why are we talking today? Where are we at with the process?
Well, maybe I can answer some of that.
Yes.
And actually, as this process has gone on, I've become more and more optimistic about us stopping this line. Jim mentioned the federal processes going on, which is really out of the hands of the public now and into litigation. But we have two really excellent attorneys and groups working for us, Dave Becker and the Craig Law Firm law offices. So they're doing a really good job of getting things together. And I have to say that the public has been unbelievable as far as the kind of work that they've put in. I was kind of skeptical at first whether or not people would engage, and actually it's hard work, and I have been so impressed with the people of this area. It's been incredible. But anyway, back to where we are. Oregon Department of Energy first got the application in 2010, and a lot has happened since then. For one thing, the whole model of what energy or how energy gets to people has changed from developers or energy companies that either generate or purchase energy and they transfer it through transmission lines, and then they sell it to the public. And we're in a lot different place now because people are producing their own energy. For one thing, and just there are a lot of other options. Now, when we got to May of 2019, the Oregon Department of Energy issued what they call a draft proposed order, and this was based on everything that Idaho Power had provided to them and the consulting agencies, and that was sort of their first cut about what they were going to do, how they looked at the different issues they had to evaluate. And at that point, the public was given an opportunity to comment on what they thought of that draft proposed order, what they thought should be changed, what they thought was missing. So a lot of people did comment, and now we're up to July of 2020, and they've issued what they call the proposed order. So that order is supposed to incorporate the public comments that they received. And at this point, the people who commented are able to ask for a contested case. Now, for those who didn't comment, there's still a place for you folks, because if you have an issue you really care about, get a hold of us. We'll connect you with someone who did comment on it. So there's a lot of like money gathering because of the attorney costs and that kind of thing. So we'll find jobs for you. Trust me, there are plenty of jobs to do. And,
so Irene, and just a clarification. So that public thing that we
proposed
had,
order.
yeah.
Oh, the draft proposed order.
Yeah, the public session that we had here, those public comments were entered into the official record that you're talking about. People had an opportunity to either write those comments or go to that public setting and say those comments. And those are the comments that you're talking about that were a part of this.
Right.
Okay.
And if you spoke, they have transcribed all of that, so it's in writing in the record. So now we're at the point, though, where if people want to ask for a contested case, there are some very specific things that the Oregon Department of Energy requires you to have in your request for what they call it party status. And you can go to the website, to the stopb2h.org website, and anything I talk about is going to be there. But there are like probably about 6 things that have to be included in your request. The first is your name and address. Second one is if you're going to have an attorney represent you, who that is and what their address is. And I will say, at this point, you can represent yourself. A non-attorney can represent an organization that you're a part of, as long as the head of the organization says okay to that. So our feeling is that people can just go ahead and ask for their contested cases. And then when the contested case process is over, I know Stop B2H will be taking a bunch of issues and deciding which ones we think are the most egregious. And we will be going into litigation, I'm sure, about the fact that Oregon Department of Energy is recommending that this this line be approved and be built. So we're not going to just sit by and let that occur.
So one question.
Mhm.
So a contested case is a good thing. If you're opposed to B2H, you want that. And is the contested case built on single issues? Or I mean, are there multiple contested cases? Or I don't know. Give me an example of the subject of a contested case, just so that we can
Okay.
understand. Yeah.
Okay, I'll give you an example. I commented on the fire protection for this area in one of the comments that I made on behalf of Stop B2H. When the order came out, one of the things in the order says that if the governor's group comes up with something as far as a statewide plan for dealing with fires, that would meet the requirements of the Oregon Department of Energy. So there's been a lot that's gone on around fire, and people have suggested what they need to feel safe about fires from the transmission lines. I am not comfortable with having a state agency say, this is what you need. The Public Utilities Commission would be the group to do that, and have it sort of wipe out all of the work that has been done locally. And Idaho Power had pretty much told all the local groups that they would be able to have significant input into this. So I'll be asking on that issue. I'll be saying that the criteria that they provided is not consistent with having a plan that is specifically related to this area or any of the areas, and that they need to be site-specific plans, and they need to incorporate the information that they've already received. Is that?
Yeah. So then you have an opportunity to request a contested case for your particular issue.
Mm-hmm.
And for you personally, pointed toward your particular concern, and they have to respond to that in some way or another. Is that correct?
They will either respond by allowing me to have a contested case or denying the contested case. Okay. And actually, I can ask for as many contested cases as I have problems with issues. Stop B2H is also, as an organization, going to be asking for requests for contested cases, and our representation as a coalition will be representing all of our members. So we can. It's pretty broad.
Okay. So tell us what's the next step. Yeah, keep going.
Okay. Well, like I said, there's some really specific criteria. You have to have who you are, what your address is, who your attorney is if you have one. You have to state what your issue is in just a very simple, straightforward way, and some kind of basis for it. Like maybe there's a statute that you don't believe that the order is meeting the criteria of the statute. Maybe you have some research that you commented on in your comments. Just something to justify what you have to say. So that's one thing that's really important. I'd say another thing that's very important is you have to have commented on the issue that you're asking for a contested case, and you have to, in your request, say where that happened. So it was at the hearing in LeGrand on this day, or it was in my correspondence to you on August 19th. That kind of specific information, because they will be evaluating. If you didn't comment on it, they're not going to allow you to have a contested case. There is one place, however, where you can comment on things that you did not, where you can ask for a contested case on something you didn't comment on. And that is when the proposed order is very different than the draft proposed order. So I think people will find that with this proposed order, there are many, many places that they have red writing. That red writing, or X'd off red lettering, is all changes to the original draft proposed order. So you have to have at least one issue that you did comment on. But if you did do that, like for instance, the fire, because it's changed so much, or the weed management, because it's changed so much, people are going to have the chance to add to their contested case issues, I guess. Is that kind
Yep.
of explain?
I follow
Okay.
that.
Okay.
So where can people see the most recent version now? Is that on you guys' website?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
There's
Yes, it is.
okay. And Jim's probably better at telling people how to get to it than I am.
Okay.
But it's fairly straightforward. If you just go to stopb2h.org, we've got all kinds of information about what's happening on all of these different fronts. And one of the things about these contested cases is currently we only have till August 6th to get them in. They only give you 30 days. So we are focused right now. There are a lot of little eager beavers that are sitting in their houses, hopefully with air conditioning, writing up these contested cases. And we're hopeful that they'll give us an extension. We've asked for an extension because of the bulk of information that they're expecting us to get through. We haven't received anything yet to tell us whether or not that's going to happen.
Okay.
And if I can add, we're putting up a video on our website of how to go through what Irene just described, but how to go through it step by step. We put up a step-by-step process, but the feedback we got from people was it was kind of technical and kind of difficult to follow. So we put together a 15-minute video that walks people through the various screens that you would have to access in order to find your comment, find out how the department addressed your issue and whether it was satisfactory or not, and then the process of how to go through making that contested case. Because a key word here is they call it sufficient specificity, but we don't have a definition of what that is. That is in the eyes of the beholder, and that's the hearings officer. So we have to make sure that we raise an issue with sufficient specificity that the applicant and the Department of Energy understands the points we're raising in enough technical detail that they can respond with enough technical detail. So that's the details that we have to work our way through. And when we ask the Oregon Department of Energy for examples of good contested cases, the last one they gave us was done in 2015. So that says a little bit of how high the bar is to get into the contested case process.
Could I just add to that one other thing? And that is, as far as people writing things up, if they're nervous about whether or not they answered the questions correctly, just get a hold of us, because we are happy to make sure that you've covered all the questions. And in fact, this early in the game, when I'm having people ask me to review their comments and make editorial kinds of responses, I'll do that right up until probably 5 days before the due date, because then I'll be working madly on my own and B2H contested cases.
So then you can submit, you yourself, you're intending on submitting multiple contested cases on multiple issues, or if there's something in red that has been edited, that gives you the opportunity to speak into those things that have been changed between the two documents.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yes. And if you, in the party status, you decide when you ask for a contested case whether or not you want to be a limited party or a full party, just a party to the proceedings. And I encourage people to say that they want to be a full party, because that means that once you get into a contested case, you can actually give testimony on any of the other contested cases that are being heard. So most of us are not going to have the wherewithal in 30 days to get everything into the contested case process that we maybe would like to, or maybe someone else has found something that we really think is important. So you can do, as long as you have one case that you commented on that you're asking for a contested case, and you get into the process, you can respond to everybody else if you want to.
So what is the goal here? Is the goal to, other than to stop this from happening, is the immediate goal to make this so difficult that it's not profitable for them to do it anymore? Or is it to, I don't know, kind of give me a little bit of an overview of, if you can, or if you want to,
I think so.
what's the strategy here in order to be successful for the outcome that you guys are trying to accomplish?
Well, I can tell you early in the process, our strategy was delay, because we knew that the way energy is changing in this state, the longer it took them to get this line through, the higher the probability that no one would see a need for it. And I think that we've come a long way in terms of that. The way energy is being used and produced is way different. The only people who don't seem to know that are Idaho Power. So so that was sort of at the beginning. At this point, I'd say, and I can speak for myself personally, my personal feeling is you've got an out-of-state for-profit utility that's going to run a transmission line clear across this state. And as far as I'm concerned, if they run that line, they need to mitigate for everything that they do as far as damages. And so things like them getting a proposed order that says that they're going to exempt them from all of the noise impacts to all of the people that live along that line is not acceptable. They need to make sure that the people who live here are not being exposed to noise that's above the safety standards of the Department of Environmental Quality. They need to for impacts to our wildlife, to our views. It should be very expensive for them to run that line across 300 miles of Eastern Oregon habitat and people.
And the reason, the bigger picture is that hydropower is less expensive than some of the other alternatives that they could develop in Idaho.
Mm-hmm.
And
but that's changing a little bit, because the Idaho Public Utility Commission just had a docket about 9 months ago where Idaho Power was bringing on Jackpot Solar Farm, which was the least expensive solar farm in the United States at the time. And the Idaho PUC looked at that solar farm in over a 20-year period, and what would Idaho Power pay those solar developers versus buying energy from the Pacific Northwest? The Idaho PUC staff determined that a solar plant of 120 megawatts was a better investment for Idaho Power ratepayers than buying energy from the Pacific Northwest. So right there, what we've been saying is we're trying to say, like, yes, you need energy, Idaho. You're growing, but build renewable energy in your own backyard to create jobs for Idahoans to meet your energy needs. You don't need to be coming to us, because what happens here in the Pacific Northwest, we're retiring our coal plants and we're filling them in with renewables. And what's going to happen is the coal plants are retiring quicker than renewables are coming online. So we're going to have what's called a resource inadequacy in the Pacific Northwest for the next 5 or 6 years as coal goes off and renewables come on. So the prices are going to go higher. So as the PUCs, Public Utility Commissions, look at that, they're going to say, Idaho Power, it's easier, put it in your state. The transmission lines are shorter. There's less loss. By the way, a 300-mile transmission line loses between 10 and 20% of its energy in moving that 300 miles. And the way the renewable world is working now is put renewable resources closer to the load, meaning your customers. Build closer, keep it tighter in. It's more secure. It is better for your economy. And it's just the way everything's going. The old model of having generation, then having the transmission lines, then the distribution lines to your home, that's old. That's gone. We're going to have all solar panels on our roof, and we're going to be selling energy to each other. So the whole economic model is changing, but Idaho Power is kind of stuck in the old ways. You look at PacifiCorp, they are building huge wind farms in Wyoming. They're putting in about 1,200, wind towers in Wyoming to catch the wind. We see it here in Oregon along the Columbia River, all the wind farms. That's the future, Idaho Power, but they don't get it. So we're trying to help them along the way to not make a mistake and screw the Idaho Power customer in the meantime.
And what I meant by being cheaper is that is the perception of Idaho Power. I mean, it's in their best interest to find the cheapest, what they think is the cheapest power that they can get. And so then if without resistance they could run a 300-mile power line across Oregon that does not benefit Oregon, does not benefit the customers of Eastern Oregon, then that might be a good buy. But if the public puts roadblocks in the way and says, no, if you're going to do that, you've got to mitigate that. You've got to pay for the damages that you're causing along the line. You've got to dot every I and cross every T. And if at some point the cost to do that transmission line is increased by mitigating those damages, then at some point they might just make the decision on their own, like, we need to build power in our own backyard.
Well, there are some other kind of related things about that. And one is Idaho Power's stockholders have had an increase in their bonuses or dividends every year for over 10 years now. And they basically have promised their stockholders that that's going to continue and that the amounts are going to continue to raise. And so Idaho Power has they placed themselves in kind of a pressure position. If they build this transmission line, they're guaranteed 6.7% profit. So for the next 50 years, while customers are supposedly paying for this line, they have a guaranteed amount of money, profit money, that they can meet that commitment to their stockholders. So I think that's been one of their driving forces from the very beginning, is getting some stability into their income flow. And that's kind of me speaking, but there's a lot of information in the Security and Exchange Commission material that really would support that kind of a assumption.
Okay. All right. So let's kind of bring this down to some kind of a close. So tell us again what you need people to do, and where do they need to go in order to do it?
If they've commented, we would really appreciate it if they would put together a contested case request. And if they want help, come to Stop B2H. We will walk them through it. So that's the main thing right now. And once they turn those in, if the people will send us a copy of it, between the time that they turn in a contested case request and the time when the meeting occurs where it's decided whether or not they're going to get a contested case, there's some stuff that they need to put together to be prepared for that meeting. So for the people that do ask for a contested case, we will take them through, just like we're doing right now. We will take those people, and of course our audience is smaller now than it was when we were trying to get the whole world to comment. So we have to focus on the people who have asked for a contested case, and then we'll focus on those folks getting through the next step. And our plan is, our intent is we will walk them through from the beginning to the end. And by the end, I mean either they get denied a contested case or they're allowed a contested case, and we'll assist them with putting together their documents, because once it's decided that they get a contested case, it's all in writing. So that's something that we can be helpful, I think. Once this quasi-legal contested case process is done with the Department of Energy, then it goes to attorneys and it goes to the courts. So anything that we do from that point, it's really going to be focused on budgeting and getting donations and that kind of thing to pay for these attorneys to take it the next step.
So, and I would imagine that there's a fundraising place if people want to give toward this and help with this. They can also find that information on your website in order to support this.
Absolutely.
Yes,
yeah. All righty. Well, thank you. We did not have any Facebook questions. I think that probably means that you guys did such a great job. Nobody asked questions, but and
Right.
yeah, and Irene, the deadline for filing the paperwork for a contested case is again, when did you say? August? When?
August 6th.
6th.
August the 6th, yes.
Okay.
It's
So
a 30-day period. We're already running against it.
Okay. All righty. And for those people that are interested in diving into this, they can go to your website, which is on the screen, and you're going to have a video there, Jim, to help them find the information that they have submitted and so on and so forth. So, well, you guys, thanks so much for taking the time to jump on here. It's, it's kind of funny. I have been, as I've watched this issue develop over the last couple of years, it's pretty well cuts across political lines. I mean, you have both conservatives and liberals that are pretty upset about the way that this could impact us. And primarily it's because there's no immediate local benefit to us. And there's very little benefit to, there's a few Idaho Power customers that are actually in Oregon, in the Ontario area. But for the most part, this really has very little positive impact on Oregonian folks. So,
and you are looking at Mr. Jim, who is a liberal, Democrat, yes. You're also looking at a
gun-toting
grandma who is a conservative to the moon Republican. So,
good.
We're a pair of bookends.
Yeah, but we work well together. The synergy that this thing has created, the people that it's brought together, it's been a wonderful experience that way. Just to see what the people in this community are capable of has really, it makes me humble.
Good. All righty. Well, hey, thank you guys so much for jumping on with me tonight, and thank you EO Alive TV for being here. And we always appreciate our sponsors, Grand Ronde Hospital and EONI, for helping us do these kind of events. And we will see you next time right here on